Working Class on Deercast. I think it's episode 62. We're on our way. I better start thinking about 100.
It's going to have to be big.
I wonder if, I'll have to do some brainstorming here. Curt Geyer speaking. Our guest, you're a guest and a co-host kind of on this one. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
Jacob Johnson in the house.
Hello.
And you guys all know Lee. Herr, you're co-hosting this as well. Thanks for being here, fellas.
No problem.
It's content day here at the Working Class Bowhunter HQ. We've been working on some stuff. We do have the Victory Drive podcast coming soon.
That's right.
We worked on some of that today on the back end. It's going to be you're running the show, firearm, military, everything, guns and stuff podcast, pretty much.
Yeah, we're going to come out guns a-blazing on this one. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Yeah, pun intended. Yeah.
Nice. Pun intended. No, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a really good time. I'm very excited about it. Working today, going over some stuff was a fucking blast. And it's just, I'm sorry.
All right, note
Dang
that
it.
down.
I'm sorry. Son of a gun.
Okay, this is a clean.
It's been a blast. I had lots of fun today.
Nice.
And I am sorry.
Working Class on Deercast is a kids-friendly show, Jacob.
Yes, it is.
Is that the first time you're going to have to edit a word?
I think there's been a couple edited on this series.
Yeah.
But we got some fun stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this buck you killed in October, early October.
Yeah. Yep. Is the same day as you killed your first one.
It is.
The same day. Yep.
The 8th.
Yep. It was a good day.
That's right. It was a good day.
It's cold.
A lot of deer got shot early and mid-October were some of the cold fronts we had this season. It was great. And then we're going to dive into some controversial topics here after we tell that story. And we're talking basically the premise of maybe it's a debate, maybe it's an argument we'll get into, I hope. Does trail cam pictures and sightings of deer make that deer like your deer? Like, can you claim it as your deer? The deer I was hunting, my deer. We're gonna get into that because the internet goes both ways on that argument than what I expected. When you see people argue about it or debate it in threads, and there's some interesting stuff to talk about there. And there's actually a thread in our group that I'm going to pull up. I think most people are going to lean the way that we think they're going to lean. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this buck early October because you're an Iowa resident.
Yep. Born and raised. Yeah, Iowa resident.
Shout out to Iowa.
Yeah, it's a good place.
Yeah.
It's a nice state. A lot of good things going on there, minus the cold sometimes. But
right. Okay.
You can deal with that, then it's a good place to be. Mm-hmm. But what do you just want to get into it?
Yeah, tap into it. I mean, and then if you use Deercast, maybe how that played into you making a decision like so early in the season.
Yeah. Yep. So I got I got permission on this place down in southern Iowa. I live in northern Iowa, and where I live is kind of bunk zone for deer. A lot of people think of
Iowa. Wasteland.
Yeah. People think of Iowa whitetails, and you don't think of my area as Iowa whitetails because it's all just farmland and the only timber.
Yeah, you're on the flip-flop part of the state from where everybody wants to be in Iowa.
Right, yeah. No one really looks at Minnesota as being a big deer killing state, and I'm closer to Minnesota than I am anywhere else. So
yeah. Is that true?
There's pockets in Minnesota that are really good. Southeast corner, I think there's quite a few.
No offense to Minnesota. We have some listeners in Minnesota and some good buddies in Minnesota. Minnesota is the least talked about Midwestern state that there is. Minnesota and Indiana.
Minnesota is it could be so good, especially in that southeast corner, like you're saying. It could be really, really good, but the management plan that the state implements there is atrocious, especially with CWD. Like they're really adamant about just thinning the herds, like just getting rid of them. They have like their gun season pops in right in the middle of the rut in November, and it's not great. It's over the counter tags, and they just give out so many tags, and they have such big quotas, and they don't have that huge of a herd. Okay. But they're trying to, in their mind, in their eyes, they're trying to combat CWD by thinning the herd. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But you just don't hear much about Minnesota in general. Mm-hmm. Sorry to anybody in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a good state. It's an awesome state. It's got a lot of lakes, awesome fishing. But the deer hunting is
okay.
The deer hunting is a little.
I think it's super
not
pockety.
great. Yeah, it's very
I've got
pockety.
a couple people I know from up there, and I mean they kill big stuff every single year up there. Just like
Let me ask, you guys are Iowa boys. I'm an Illinois guy. Let me ask you this. Since we're just going with the conversation.
Yeah.
What's your outlook on Wisconsin then? Good hunting state, pockety state? Like what for you guys, what's your perception of it?
I don't really have any buddies or anybody from Wisconsin that I know. The little bit I do know, it's pretty much you shoot everything to move kind of state. The way I've kind of heard.
Okay, all you
type of stuff.
Wisconsin and Minnesotan listeners, comment on this and throw trash at these guys.
Eat me alive.
Yeah,
What's
please.
up?
Yeah, please.
I think anywhere could be good. It's just it depends on how you do it.
Man.
Yeah. If you have private land that only you have access to, you can make it whatever you want.
Yeah.
So,
to a point.
I mean,
so let's talk about this. You live in the sad side of Iowa.
The barren wasteland.
Side. It's a great place to be if you're a farmer, if you're a crop farmer, and it's not a great place if you want to shoot big deer when you don't own a shit ton of land.
Okay, you're fine. Shit is fine.
If you don't own a lot of land, then it's not the greatest place to be. But so, anyways.
So okay,
I travel for my deer hunting.
Yeah, most people do.
Yep.
So you got permission on a piece on the good side of Iowa.
Yep.
And then what happens?
Yeah. So doing some work down there throughout the summer and getting summer trail cam pics, and it just seemed like we had some good deer on there in the summer. And as season got closer and closer, I've never been a big like early season guy because I've never really had a spot super dialed in, before to make those really calculated moves. But down this piece, it has very low pressure, especially during bow season. So I guess I was thinking like if a good cold front comes in October, it'd be the first cold front. Like you've talked about it, and a lot of other people have talked about it, where it's a really good time to strike. So I was kind of waiting for that, and man, we had our first cold front pretty early. It was like that first week of October.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a killer season.
Yeah.
If you like to kill in October or hunt in October, it was the best season that I think we've had in a long time.
And the last couple have really been better October weather than November. I mean,
the last 2 years,
at least 3 years ago was the same way. It was hot during the rut in Iowa, but October was the month.
I feel bad for them guys. Well, I don't feel bad for them. It's their own fault. But like, there's a lot of guys that don't hunt October because they're just waiting for November. No matter what.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got to capitalize on these things when they happen, right?
Absolutely.
Like a 20-degree drop in temperature in October, they're going to be moving.
That's
Ching.
big.
Yeah.
That's a big drop. That's a big drop at any point in the season. But in October, that's huge. And it's also cool because a 20-degree drop, it doesn't mean it's getting in the negatives, So it's still fairly comfortable for people for us humans. But yeah, so, October 8th rolled around and that was a Saturday, right? So that rolls around. Cold front looked good. I was on DeerCast and it said it was green across the board the whole weekend. So like, this would be a really good time to get down there and take actual inventory, eyes on inventory to see what's out there and moving around.
Right.
So my plan was to get down there, hang more of a quote unquote observation sit and kind of just see what's coming in and out. And I got down there and I went down to hang a stand, and I wanted to still be in the wheelhouse just in case something happened, but I wanted to be far enough away where I wasn't buggering anything that early on.
Yeah.
So I was set up in a spot that was on the edge, and there's bedding off where were we? Off to the east of me. So I was setting up on the edge of what we thought was bedding, and there was a food plot planted out there, and I was hunting right across from some tall grass and like weedy stuff. But I wanted to be far enough off the plot too, in case there's a deer on there that got in there, and I wanted to get out and sneak out without blowing everything
thinking
off.
About your
right?
entry exit, yeah, I respect it.
But there was also a really big scrape just to the south of me that was opened up, and it was pretty fresh and got worked up. So
you just did a hang and hunt on this.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So I went in there with I have a Novix Echo, and I went in there and hung a stand fairly close to that scrape, and I was just kind of seeing what was happening. And I hung that set. Well, actually, I hung a set a little bit deeper in the woods. And I hung that. I got into it, got all settled in, and I started looking around, and I don't have shooting lanes cut out yet, and everything else. So I hung up, and I'm looking around, and this is just not a great spot to be.
So one bummer about a hang and bang when you're trying to like go in and then hunt and not intrude too much, it's like you kind of have to work with what you got for shooting lanes, or you go to a spot that's just going to naturally give you more shooting lanes. Like,
Yep.
It's the back and forth of a hang and bang, a hang and hunt.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I was at with that spot in that tree. I was just looking around, and I realized this is not conducive to actually shooting the deer. If something came in, it's probably going to come off to my weak side. So I'd have to get up, spin around, do a bunch of other crazy stuff in order to get a shot off.
Yeah.
So I moved it. So I got back down. I climbed back down. Now, like you said, I'm kind of stepping on eggshells in here.
Yeah, you're like, man, I'm in it. I know there's going to be a deer in here, or you hope. And you don't want to ruin it before you get going, because then your like vibe for the whole afternoon kind of sucks from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not fun.
No.
You need to feel good about it.
Yep. And with the point being where I want to be able to see the plot and see where they're coming in and out of. And I couldn't really see it that well from that spot either. So I decided to just break it down and move. So I moved about, 35 yards closer to the edge. So I was setting up basically right on the edge, and there's this mowed path by the tall grass and weeds and stuff. So I set up on the edge of that. And then there's that scrape on the path, on the lane that was cut. And I'm sitting there, and I got all set up. The tree looked decent, but I couldn't get super high because it's kind of a scraggly tree. So I
Big Jacob's in there, and like it's like,
yeah.
What the heck?
Have you seen the TikTok where the guy grabs the tree to get out of his tree stand? That's the kind of tree Jacob's in. Just these big blocks.
Yeah.
Well,
like leaning.
it's actually a pretty big tree.
I know what you're saying.
But it came up on the main trunk and then just started splitting off and had a bunch of splits, and
the straightness of it kind of just gets, I know what you're saying. Everybody knows what you're saying.
Yeah. I could have gotten higher, but then I'd be, once again, call me what you will, but I wanted to be a little bit comfortable, and I didn't want to be sitting on a weird slant. You can only level the stand so much, and
side to side.
Yeah.
It matters. So, you have to be, dude, if you're going to sit and you're going to sit still,
yeah,
you got to be comfortable.
You got to be comfortable. So I elected to just hang it 2 sticks high.
No kidding. 2 full-length sticks.
Yep. 2 full-length sticks high.
Okay.
So I was not very far off the ground at all, but it had good cover. Like we still had leaves on the trees.
More important than height.
Yep. So we still had good cover. I had a bunch of, branches coming off, and still had some leaves, but this spot was nice because there was 2 clear shooting lanes I could shoot through. If a deer came down that path and headed to that scrape, then I have 2 really nice shooting windows. In one window, I would see the deer kind of commit to coming in, so it had given me a chance to get ready. And then there was another tree that blocked it, and then there's another window at probably about 15 yards maybe, that was where I was going to shoot, right? So I was going to grab my bow, get pulled back when he hit that tree, then when he gets past that tree, I'd be there to shoot him, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, started feeling good about the spot. I can see the plot. I can see where I think that they're going to come in and out of. I'm sitting there waiting, and I think I waited for about 2.5 hours. Then I saw some movement, and a small buck came down, kind of where I was thinking that they'd come down. Like, okay, cool. That's nice. That's cool to see. It's a pretty small buck, and he comes down. He meanders around in this little staging area, picking up stuff. And then he hops the fence, and he stops on the path. He looks at the scrape, then he looks at the food plot, and he goes to the food plot. Like, okay, cool. So
how far was he at that point? Like if a big one came and went to turn, would you have been able to shoot him there? Or was it not shooting lane wise?
No, he was right out. So I'm sitting in my stand. He's directly in front of me, about 80 yards.
Oh, okay.
And through a bunch of, it's pretty thick over there.
Wow,
there's some thick
80
stuff.
yards.
Yeah. And 80 yards. So
Not threading the needle through a wicker basket.
yeah. So when I'm watching this buck, I have my loop holds up, and I'm watching him like this. I'm like, okay, cool. Watch him eat and do his thing. Then he goes off, and I'm like, okay, that was neat. So I'm sitting there, maybe 15 minutes later, I catch movement coming down that same path, the same trail he came down. And I think I see a bigger rack on him. So I pull my binos up. I look, I'm like, oh yeah, yep, that's a good one. So I'm watching him. Yeah, just watching him. Like, oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's nice.
I don't know if he's a shooter. I'm focusing. Yeah. I'm like, all right, yep. I don't know, he's pretty nice. And then he gets into a bit of an opening. I look, I'm like, oh no, man, he's pretty darn nice. He'd be my biggest deer that I've shot.
That's all you can ask for right there, man.
So I'm looking at him like, man, he looks really good. So I put my binos down. I'm watching him, and then he does the same exact thing that little buck did. He jumped the fence. But the thing that was interesting about this hunt was after the big guy jumped the fence, he got on the path, and he looked at the same thing, looked at the scrape, looked at the food plot, and that small buck was in the food plot, and they locked eyes. And it's almost like right when that small buck realized who it was, he just took off and he ran like 150 yards to the far corner of the food plot. Yeah. And stopped and then started milling around again. Like, huh, cool. Like,
kind of live decoy. It's like, hey, that dude's already out there. You can be calm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that way. I don't know if that's right. It's like there's deer already out in the open. I see like the buck I want to shoot or another deer coming in. If they can see deer already out there, it's kind of like, okay, they made it out there. I don't know if they think that way, but
I don't know. I think they probably do. I mean,
I think so.
You know, people, not necessarily for whitetails, but you get out west, they use confidence decoys all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, for like cows and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think they do it. Even when you're waterfowl hunting, buddy of mine, we grew up waterfowl hunting. We'd put our goose decoys out, and then we'd put some crow decoys out for confidence.
Or a blue heron.
Yep, for confidence decoys.
Really? Yep.
I don't know anything about waterfowl, but I've never heard that. I don't think.
So if a bird thinks that way, then I think deer do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because birds are dumb.
Birds are fake. Fake. That's another podcast. Tune into the Victory Drive. Birds are fake. Government conspiracy. That's why they land on power lines, dude. They recharge.
Dude. Anyways,
I
continue.
like it.
Another podcast.
So
that's so stupid.
So the big guy jumps over. The little guy sees him, runs off. I think he gets a little scared. He doesn't want to get beat up or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then the big buck is watching him, and then he looks back over to the scrape, and I'm watching him. He's once again, he's about 80 yards away, and he turns and commits to come to the scrape. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna happen. And right when he turned, I'm like, one last look. I pull my binos up real quick, and I just seen his brisket waddling as he's walking. I'm like, yep. So I put him back in. I'm like, this is gonna happen, I think. And mind you, I had my wind was blowing straight across to that path, right? So that mowed path, I wanted to keep my wind out of what I thought was bedding. So I was hunting a very, very conservative wind.
Yep.
But it was blowing right across this path. And earlier in the day, the wind was high enough where I felt like it was blowing hopefully over.
Yeah, or just fast enough they wouldn't catch you as hard.
They wouldn't catch me as hard.
Yeah.
But obviously in the evening, it died down pretty slow. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, he is going to come down. He's going to catch my wind here. I need to be ready for if he catches my wind, then I can shoot him. And I'm watching him come down the lane, just right on the pipe. I grab my bow, and he does that exact thing. He crosses that first shooting window, and he hits that tree that I was going to start drawing on to shoot him at the second window. And I get hooked on. I'm about ready to draw, and then his head crosses that tree trunk, and he's just stops. I'm like, he got me.
Is that about where your wind was?
Yep.
Where he locked up?
Exactly. And he just hit a brick wall. He just stopped. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay.
Isn't it crazy that hits him like that?
I was just going to say, aren't whitetails nuts? They can be walking, and then all of a sudden it's just like, boom, they smell something, and it's like,
yeah.
Yep.
Something. I mean,
It's
tough.
Wild.
And his head was kind of like, not down, but a walking pace. And he just stops and puts his head up, perches it right up, and he's just standing there stone cold still. And I'm watching him like, oh my gosh, here we go. He caught me. I'm like, this is over. And I'm sitting there watching him. Then he licks his lips, and
how far is he right here?
Maybe 15 yards.
Oh, he's right there. Okay.
Yeah. 12, 15 yards.
His body's blocked from the tree.
His body's blocked from the tree. Yeah. And I didn't want to draw because now he's on alert. He knows something's up.
Right.
If I move, in my mind, I'm thinking if I move even an inch, then he's going to catch me.
Is he looking at you or just in your general direction?
In my general direction. I'm sitting there, and mind you, I'm not very high in the tree. So
it's good
when I'm watching him, I feel like I'm eye to eye with him. So I'm doing this thing. I'm like, I have my bow on my leg. I'm clipped on, ready to go. And I'm like squinting.
Yeah,
I'm like
do the squint.
putting my eyes down so maybe you won't see my eyes. Like I feel so close to this deer that anything will set him off. He's already on alert. And I'm like, dang, all right.
Yeah.
Well, see what happens. And I hear him. He's like, I'm like, oh, jeez. No.
He's going to run.
He's going to run. And he turns around. And as he turns around, I just drew. I'm just like, we're going to get on this next shooting window. It's now or never. So I draw. I get locked back. I put my pin on the first shooting window that you already crossed. And at this point, I knew that if he takes off running, I'm not going to get a shot. But if for some reason he decides to just walk or whatever, I just want to be ready for anything, right? I knew it would be a mildly quartering away shot. And I drew and I put my pin in that shooting window and I see him cross. And looking back on it, I don't know. I didn't map him or nothing like that. I don't know if he stopped or just went to such a slow trot that it felt like he stopped. And right then it was just kind of instinct. And I saw, right when I saw my pin on his vitals, I'm like, thunk, just touched it off. And I saw it fly out and smacked him right behind the shoulder. And I was like, dude, okay. Then he takes off running. Nice. I'm like, wow, I just did that. Like it all happened so fast. And
it's kind of like second nature a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It's just almost instinctual to an extent where, everything felt good. I was locked in, ready to go. And right when he got there, I'm like, there it is. And right when I said, there it is, I don't know I guess, call it a trigger punch or whatever you want to call it, a controlled shot. I don't know. It wasn't like all right, here we go.
Well, no, in your defense, I feel like you're starting to defend yourself on that a little bit. Maybe you're not, but
I don't know.
You're explaining yourself more, and I don't really think you need to, but I've had deer lock on, kind of have maybe catch my wind, maybe some movement. That baby dropper I shot a couple years ago, I drew when he was getting ready to spin, and as he was spinning away, I was touched on him and cranked it off while he was like slowly turning, and it was just money. You just know there's certain situations where you're just firing on all cylinders, and when it feels right.
Yep.
And that's what that was.
That's what it was. And I felt good. Yeah. It felt like a great shot. And I didn't get a pass through. I shot, and as it hit him, he obviously took off. And as he's running, he's just like, and when I heard it hit, I'm like, okay, that hit him hard. And as he's running, he's just like,
oh yeah,
like running.
Took his diaphragm out.
Yeah. So he's running really hard. And I'm sitting there and I see the arrow kick out because I didn't get a pass through. So is a little bit quartering away. So I think, in my mind, I'm like, okay, went through, hit that outside shoulder, kicked back out. We're good to go. He's dead. And I just sit back down and I pull my binos up. I'm watching him run off. And then he jumps back over the fence, takes off in the woods. And then he stops probably, 60, 70 yards away through a bunch of thick stuff. And I just was catching glimpses of him as he's running through. And I saw him stop and I was watching him for maybe 5 minutes. And then I watched him either walk off or fall or go down. And I didn't know which one it was because I was just catching glimpses of him. And I watched that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to give him a couple more minutes and kind of collect myself. And I'm sitting there and I didn't even get nervous. It was just, everything was so like fast and just happened. And then after I put my binos down, after I lost sight of him, I put my binos down. Then all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, wow, that just happened.
Yeah, man.
Then the shakes hit.
Yeah.
See, that's cool, though. You're somebody that can hold their composure underneath a tense situation.
It's better that way for me. Like, that kind of happened fast. When I watch them come in, I'm a wreck, man. If they come in fast and it's like, they're right here, I got to go, I don't get nervous, and I think it's better for me, those situations. I love them.
The thing is, I watched him for quite a while. So I was watching for a while. So I watched him come in and do everything, and everything.
Just the shot part happened.
But then once he hit your wind and changed, it was went into a new mode, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Like when that happens, that's where a lot of people start falling apart because you're like, oh no, it's slipping. Like you're starting to fumble the situation, and then people get worked up. So props to you for pulling it off.
Thanks, man.
Once normally that happens, it's hard to get a shot on one.
Yeah,
a crank on one.
A crank on one. But
so Africa did that to me. I was like, I just want to
crank them,
crank every deer.
Dang, yeah,
there it is. But yeah, after I lost him, I put all my stuff down, and then it started hitting me, and then I kind of started getting the shakes a little bit. I'm like, geez, that just happened. I look at my phone, I'm like, yeah, it's October 8th, and it's like 5:10.
It's a week and a day in the season.
This is super early, mind you. Yeah, early October. What does it get dark? Like 7:30?
Something like that, because I think we probably killed real close to the same time.
Yeah. I shot him at 5:15.
I had to double check mine. I have a trail cam picture like 30 minutes while Lee was texting me.
I could look at the message.
Yeah.
Do you have it still? Screenshot?
Yeah, I think so.
But it just felt really crazy to me because I'm like, I knew the power of a cold front in October. From listening to you guys talk about them and everything else and just seeing it when I'm out running around and stuff. It's like, I know it's really good, but I did not think it's going to be that good.
Yeah, right.
That early. That was pretty early. I was still expecting last 10, 15, 20 minutes of light. Then I started seeing a lot of deer.
Would you have went in the way you went in if it wasn't for deer cast?
No, I wouldn't have went down there. I live 3.5 hours away.
Yeah, okay.
So, no, I mean, deer cast.
Pretty bold.
For me, it's been huge. This year I did not have the PTO to take time off for my whitetail hunting because Africa took all my PTO.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't have a whole lot of time. I knew I wanted to hunt down in southern Iowa quite a bit, as much as I could.
Deercast is a working man's tool.
The predictive model's ideal for that. 14 days out, that's ideal.
Dude, it's crazy. It doesn't dictate when I hunt because I'm, only have the weekends. I'm going to hunt no matter what, but it does dictate where I hunt at certain times.
And
that makes sense.
It can dictate how aggressive you hunt
and how
aggressive
your mood going into the hunt too.
Yep. So
that's big.
If it was a poor day or even an okay day, I wouldn't have driven 3.5 hours away.
Yeah.
I would have hunted some public closer to home.
For sure.
So
6:26, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, really? Mm. So yeah. And I sat there for another hour. So yeah, about 7:30 something dark then. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you beat me.
So yeah. Nice.
What time did you say it was?
5:15.
It's like an hour before. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
But we didn't know it at the time until later. But we talked that night.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't know until after I recovered them and got back. And
we're both busy.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
like, we got shit to do now.
Yeah, you were probably the first WCB crew member to shoot something this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, unless anyone killed super early season like Kentucky or something. But I don't know if anyone really does that.
Eric, go down there.
Yeah.
Eric.
Eric's got property in Kentucky. He couldn't. But
I was definitely one of the first ones in Iowa or in the Midwest.
Midwest. Just call it. You're the first. Okay.
Hey,
just give it to yourself. Jeez.
I beat everyone.
So let's talk about walking up on this here.
So, okay. So real quick, after I shoot him, he runs off, does his thing. I eventually get down. I give him a solid hour and a half before I even look at my arrow because I saw it kick out. So I saw where my arrow's at. So I give him some time. I get down, look at my arrow. The arrow has blood about a little over half the shaft, and I'm shooting a full length Victory.
You don't cut your arrows at all?
No, I just throw them on there.
What's your draw?
I trim it. What?
What's your draw length?
My draw length is I'm shooting 31.5 right now, but I'm at 32. So
oh my gosh!
I got to shrink down half an inch to get into elite terrain. Almost 700.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that have to be heavier, otherwise you could be under. I think
they're
technically.
Yeah. I think they're about 600 and almost 690. So
how many are you shooting? 70 pounds?
Yeah.
Dude, just everything's it's a bulldozer, man.
We chronoed it at the archery shop, and it was fast still, even with that heavy of an arrow.
I bet it was.
It was upper 200s. I think it was like 280 something.
Wow.
So
that's flying for a heavy full length arrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of draw length, a lot of speed.
I can't believe you didn't pass through that thing.
Well, and so that was the thing. I was shooting the new Slick Trick torch broadheads.
Okay.
So this mechanical.
Oh, okay.
And it's set up kind of like a Rage, like the what's the other one?
Like
a rear deploying.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, it's a rear deploying, but it's not like their other mechanical.
Okay.
You know how the Raptor trick, how it swings out?
Yep.
This one's rear deploying, so it hits and it has springs in there and it flips out, so it's supposed to get that slap cut.
You think that was the reason why you didn't get a pass through?
Yeah, I do. If I was shooting fixed heads, I think it would have blew through his shoulder.
Yeah, I'm team fixed head until further notice.
Yeah, I am too. After this deer, I am. Don't get me wrong. This broadhead arrow combo, it worked great.
Yeah,
it left a big hole in him, but I did not have blood anywhere on the ground. I had a couple specks right where he was hit, and I couldn't find blood anywhere. Like throughout the trail, I knew where he ran because I watched him. There was no blood for
just stayed in the cavity then for a bit.
Yeah, for over 100 yards.
Wow,
there's no blood.
Good on you for watching.
Yeah, and I didn't have very good cell service, but I called Austin and talked to him through the whole thing. He told me the same thing that I was kind of initially thinking, but obviously at this point, I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, I hit shoulder.
It's easy to do.
I didn't do this.
Yeah.
I screwed everything up. But he's like, no, dude, that went through, hit offside shoulder. You're not going to have very good blood.
Austin's got to talk to.
Yeah. He's like, you're not going to have very good blood. So just go find the deer because he's dead. I'm like, okay. So he gave me the comments. So I went back down. Mind you, I had to run back up to get cell service. So I was like, run back and forth.
Hey, this is the update. Back down.
I told him I was going to wait till morning. He's like, that deer's dead. Go find him. I'm like, okay, I will. So I put my headlamp on, go back down there, and I'm just walking around cussing, getting mad, and saying some prayers and like, just help me find this deer.
Cussing,
God, something.
saying some prayers.
Beating myself up, asking God for forgiveness.
Hey, I'm sorry about all the things I said. Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm just going to walk towards where I think they were bedding at because he's probably going to go back to where he feels safe. So I just jumped on a deer trail and just started walking, and all the ground foliage is still pretty high, right?
Yeah.
October. So I just jump on this heavy deer trail and I'm just walking. I'm like, I'm just going to walk this until I find blood or I get to the bedding area and see what happens. And I come over to this dried up creek bed. I get the edge of it. I'm sitting there at the edge of it looking around. I'm like, I don't see anything. I'm getting mad. I'm like, well, maybe after if you hop this creek bed, maybe there's blood in the creek bed somewhere. So I was going to hop down and walk the creek bed and try to find blood. Cause when they jump, they kind of hit, maybe some blood squirted out somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I just jumped down, and my headlamp wasn't strong enough to see the bottom of the creek bed because it's pretty tall. Mm-hmm. So I just jumped down. Right when I jumped down, the bed of this creek bed is just blood everywhere on that trail that I was on. Yeah. So I got lucky.
That's awesome.
I just jumped on that trail that he decided
just
to take.
Morale change right there.
And when I hit that creek bed, when I say it was painted red, and that whole creek bed is insane. The amount of blood. Yeah.
Did you make it out of the creek bed?
Yep. So no deer in there. I'm like, but there's a lot of blood now to follow. So I hop up and I followed up, and he makes it up to the other side, which is pretty steep, and there's blood just still kind of dripping off the side of this creek bed. Is insane.
Wow.
And I jump up, I crawl up top, I pop my head up, and there he is.
Awesome.
Maybe 5 yards off the creek bed.
Money.
And I'm like, nice.
What kind of deer?
A whitetail.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. All right.
No.
Okay.
It was a good deer. I think when I was watching him, I was guessing probably like mid 130s.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a coos. All right.
Not a coos. Not a muley. So yep. Still a whitetail.
You can kill a mule deer in Iowa.
You can.
I heard about that.
Yep.
Well, congratulations,
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Stellar season.
Appreciate it.
Way to kill a whitetail, baby.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
team October 8th.
Yeah, it was good. And he ended up scoring. I rough scored him at 137. So
Awesome, dude.
a little
Great
better
deer.
than I expected. So yeah,
Heck yeah.
it was awesome.
Great buck.
Is that did it end up being your biggest one?
Dude, honestly, my biggest was 138. So no.
Biggest with the bow?
This was the gun. This is way back before I even went to Afghanistan and stuff. I was still pretty
really?
young. Yeah, I was senior in high school.
Biggest bow buck count.
Yeah, biggest bow buck there.
Very cool,
for
man.
sure. It was awesome.
Dude, if you ever need more luck, just have Lee text you. Mm-hmm. You were my good luck charm, dude. Like October 8th, he's texting me just a refresh. I'm like, hey, dude, I think there's a big buck like within 100 yards. Like, I'm gonna have to text you. I don't know if you heard this. We talked about this briefly on the podcast, but I'm in a saddle. I got my loopholed bino harness sitting here. I keep my phone right there. I keep it right there because, God forbid I fall or something happens, I can get to my phone.
That's smart.
Because if it's in your pack or something, you're screwed. So I just keep it there. Plus, it's easy to just like check the time, see if you got, see if the wife and kids need something. But yeah, I'm like, Haley, you got to go. Put it back in. As I'm putting it in, I look up and see that buck walking in. I'm like, grab my bow. And then on my second buck, wait, how long? What was the time?
So 6:26, you text me. I got a stud within 100. Text you later. I said, good luck, kill him, dude. And at 6:27, you messaged me, smoked him. I was like, what?
Yeah. And then when I shot my second buck, didn't I talk to you on the way to the tree?
Yeah, you called me right about when you got to where you were hunting.
Yeah. Get out. and I don't know what I texted you that I saw him.
Yeah, you text me. You're like, "Hey, I just got in."
Do you have that screenshotted?
I don't think so.
God, I wish. Well, I have to go back and find that.
Yeah, but yeah, you text me and you're like, "Hey, I called you," and you said, "Sorry, just got to the tree." And then like 20 minutes later, I was hunting in a blind, and I get a phone call from Curt like 20 minutes later, and I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "Dude, I just bulldozed him," and I'm like, "You've been in the tree for 20 minutes."
Dude, text Lee, man. If you need good luck, just text Lee.
So was that a preset? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So it didn't take much for you to jump right up in there.
The second one was I had a preset echo. That Lee helped me hang this summer. It was cool. Lee was like really a part of that. So Lee, that was just as much Lee's deer. It's right there.
Yeah.
Lee's buck as it was my buck. I feel like, it was a new piece. Mm-hmm. Didn't know. I was like, I want to have at least 2 just jump in them options. Mm-hmm. And it worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with a pre-hang.
Lee's a great guy.
I got no shame in a pre-hang because I think if you're killing stuff out of a pre-hang, it's like a confidence
It takes
thing.
calculated moves.
And you got to not burn it out. It's easy to just jump in a pre-hang.
Yeah, it is. And over again. Especially when you're feeling a little bit lazy.
Is actually I bet you I only hunted that spot 3 times, that stand.
You shot your doe your first sit there.
The second time I shot my doe the morning of the 8th.
I was just going to say you shot the same day. So you doubled.
Yep, shot a doe the morning of the 8th, shot a buck somewhere else that afternoon, and then I went back. I didn't sit it from the 8th until November 12th, and November 12th is when I shot that buck.
Jeez. Dialed.
When it's good, it's good.
That's awesome.
Yep. But let's talk about this debatable topic quick, and we'll kind of keep this... congratulations on your story. It's a great story.
Appreciate it. I did want to note one more thing. Lee also had something to do with my buck because the scrape that was opened up was a Colt scrape. So
it was?
Yeah, it was.
It was a rope scrape, guys.
It was a Colt
Heck
scrape.
yeah.
It was nice.
People on our TikTok, the New Balance Dad Shoes rope Colt scrape video, people were hating.
Oh, yeah. Hardcore.
And I think I got more pictures of that 8-pointer I killed on the Colt scrape than any other deer I have. I have more pictures of that big buck than any other deer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, I think the Colt scrape, I'll give you credit, did it.
Yeah, it was dope. It worked for me.
I know. So. I actually had a lot of people message me this year after that episode that we talked about it, like pictures of their deer using them, and several people have messaged me throughout the year that killed deer over those scrapes that they made.
Do we need to make your own custom serum?
No.
I think we do.
We should.
I think we do.
We could do that.
We're good. We don't.
Lee's juice.
All I'm telling you, this summer when we go set them up again, I'm getting a fresh pair of New Balance, and I want you to have a fresh pair. I'll buy your pair. How's that?
All right, deal.
And then
just soak your New Balance in the scent.
We'll go out together. We'll just we'll open them. Take that little white wrapper,
put them on and stick them right in the dirt.
Yeah. And then we're still gonna do the Fleetwood Mac song.
Oh yeah.
While we do it, it's new. It's dad shoe season.
I like it.
Okay, so the debatable topic this week: claiming deer from a trail camera photo. And basically the topic of like big deer bringing the worst out in people. So this got brought up on our group. Let me see. It's actually probably one of the hotter items. I think our buddy Dana Pace actually put this in there, and it was if somebody's got a picture of a deer on their trail cam. How do you word it? If someone's got a picture of a deer on their trail cam. Oh, here it is. Would you shoot a buck if another hunter has already claimed it from a trail camera picture?
Yep.
I didn't see that. That's
a good one.
This has 414 comments on it, and this thread. So it's obviously a very interesting topic, and I like that, and I think it's a fun conversation. First of all, let's do a roundtable answer with everybody here. Lee?
So I'm one of those people. I do call them my deer or my up and comer because I've got pictures of them. I'm hunting them, but I also realize that just because I have pictures of them did not mean that it's my deer. They can go wherever they want. I mean, like Junk Brow, he came from 4 miles, you know, I didn't even have a picture of him until like 10 days before I killed him.
Right.
You know, and I knew people that did, you know, like I said, I call them that. And like when somebody shoots a deer that I had on camera, like, you know, one of my shotgun group this year, we killed one of my up and comers, you know, and they asked me,
but it's just how you say it.
Right.
You don't really feel that you have possession of the deer.
No.
Okay. And maybe that gets confused in this conversation of like the verbiage is just being like, oh yeah, that's a buck I have on cam. My buck I'm hunting.
Yeah.
It's easy to say that now. I probably say it all the time, like subconsciously, when I'm just in combo and don't realize it.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like
it's not my buck.
It's not my German Shepherd that I'm like feeding at home. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not your pet.
Yeah, it's not my pet. How do you feel about how do you like approach that conversation? Like, do you say that possessive like verbiage?
No, I don't. Mainly, probably because, well, I think I've told you this story before, but I grew up a gun hunter. I grew up not really agreeing with bow hunters a lot because some bow hunters in my area were very possessive of their deer.
That's a negative trait to bow hunters.
Yep. And when I'm a young kid going out with my dad and someone in our group, which is just my dad and I and my buddy and his dad, when someone kills a nice deer and the first thing you say is like, "Yep, I passed that deer 4 times this season because I wanted him to get bigger." Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I don't know, man. As a kid, you probably shouldn't have that ownership over that deer at that time. Say congratulations, and if the story comes up, then speak your piece. But for that to come off so pretentiously, it's like kind of at a young age, I've always hated that term of my deer, my deer, my deer. Like I've always disliked it, so I've never said it because it's always bothered me.
There is guys out there, and that's the other side of this conversation, that do that's my buck. I passed that buck. It's like this pretentious vibe of looking down on somebody else because, and I hate that person.
Yeah.
Like,
annoying.
Dude, I got my throat tattooed. You know how much I hear that? You know what I mean? Non-deer hunting related. Dude. It's like the judgment from the Karen with the stupid haircut. Mm-hmm. That's like my worst enemy.
Yeah. And you guys don't do that. Like no one in our group really does that, I don't think.
Here's what I think. I appreciate you thinking that. Sometimes I do like subconsciously feel a little guilty in my head of like, oh, I hope I don't come off as like that pretentious hunter. And I think where that is, like we record lots of hours of our conversations. If you go back through our library, you'll probably find a 10-minute clip of me where I sound like I'm being a pretentious bow hunting a-hole. I'm sure there's probably an hour worth of
in every podcast. There is something that's said by every person that you're like, oh wow, I didn't really mean to come off like that or didn't mean to sound like that.
We're just talking.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say, I do feel guilty sometimes that I might come off that way. I don't mean it that way.
Yep.
But I think to be devil's advocate to the pretentious bow hunter side of things, to kind of combat what you're saying, the hours and the time and the hard work that a bow hunter puts in versus a kid who only gun hunts or a guy who only gun hunts, it kind of is like maybe he came off wrong. He could have been like, "Oh yeah, man, I hunted that deer. I passed him because I was looking for something better."
Sure.
Right? Is the way he should have worded it. But I'm happy for you, man. If that's your biggest buck or you're pumped with them, that's awesome.
Yep.
It's just the way it works.
The thing is,
it's weird.
I get it. I get that aspect of it, especially after getting into bow hunting. But I didn't get into bow hunting until I was an adult. 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So
great perspective.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a big reason why I didn't get into bow hunting earlier. And if we're trying to grow the sport and trying to bring in new people and trying to do certain things and conservation and, we lose hunting if we don't have hunters, obviously.
Like
to small things like that, especially when you're talking to a kid, like a teenage kid.
That's tough.
It's like that stuff sticks with a person and puts a bad taste in their mouth because after he said that, I looked at him like, well, that was a mistake. I should have passed him. Should have shot him. If you're gonna be this upset about it, you should have just shot him.
Yeah, good point.
So that stuck with me into my adult years, and I always kind of like, we joked about it like, oh yeah, bow hunting's for felons and anti-gunners, but
just funny to say it's for felons.
Yeah, well, that's just kind of like how I grew up. But it's like it's just the way it is. Like there's kind of a chip on my shoulder to an extent. I guess.
Get that. No, and I think that perspective is very interesting. It's a perspective we don't get often.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there who take it to the extreme. One of my buddies was telling me a story.
Fist fight over this stuff, dude.
So one of my buddies was telling me a story about a father and son, and the son killed the dad's number one buck, and the dad literally told the son to go live with his grandma.
Jeez.
For a little bit because he was so mad at his kid for shooting his number one target, and it was his own son.
Dang.
Like,
dude, here's the
come
thing.
on.
That's too far.
I know another father-son duo or whatever you want to call it that My dad and I were team Geyer.
Yep.
My dad killed a buck. That's my buck. As in, like, I feel like I got one. I killed a buck. My dad's like,
you did everything together.
We got a buck.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's not like you got a buck. No, we got a buck. You know, someone comes up to me and said, how was your guys' season? If I didn't kill one, my dad did.
Yep.
Showing a picture of my dad's buck. That's what we got.
Absolutely.
You know, that my dad and I were always that way. You know, I killed a buck. My dad can come help me. He's with me. I'm with him. That's how it is.
Yep.
I know another father-son duo in the industry. They hate each other. And one of them wounded a really big buck. This is a few years ago. People probably know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say names. I just don't want it. But I'll tell you.
Yeah.
One of them wounded a buck and couldn't find it. I told him, I was like, man, that's a bummer. I was like, maybe one of you guys will get him because they're both hunting the same farm. Me and him or his dad.
Yeah.
You see him again? If you can find him, he's probably still alive. 2 weeks later, his dad shoots it. Hey, dad shot the buck. He texts me. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. You guys got him.
No.
Not awesome to him.
That is wild to me.
Hated, dude. I don't think they talked for a while over that.
Dang. That's too bad.
It's like, hey, well, you're missing out on life.
Yeah.
And see, and that's why
Deer bring the worst out.
Yeah, they do. And like me growing up gun hunting with a small party of, you know, our dads and my buddy, it's like that's how we were. You know, we got these deer. We shot these deer as a group. You know, party hunting in Iowa, it's like it's a group effort to shoot this deer. So that's how we always looked at it too.
That's something that I learned. You know, talking to Iowa hunters, because in Illinois, party hunting is not legal, or I don't know if it is now, but it has not been legal. I don't think that it is. I wouldn't do it anyway. Nothing against it. I'm not doing it.
I don't like it anymore. By the way, well, my ideas have changed, but
I still do it.
Talking to guys,
I do it for the camaraderie. Though.
Talking to guys like at work when I worked at John Deere. There's guys from Iowa, and I'd be like, "Hey, how'd your season go?" Oh, we killed we killed a big one. I'm like, let's see it. And then I'm like, oh, who's that guy with the buck? I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean? We killed a big one. Oh, it's a party hunt.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of like, you didn't kill anything. A little bit. Maybe that's the pretentious bow hunter in me coming out a little bit.
Yes. Maybe. I still shotgun hunt with my group, you know, that I have since I grew up. I mean, that's what I started. That's what I started hunting, doing that, you know, and every deer that we kill, I say we killed it because, I mean, realistically, it's a group effort.
I get that. I do get that.
We push them to each other, you know. Some people don't like it. Some people say it's unsafe. My group, we've done it for a long time. We're all really safe. Knock on wood, never had a problem, you know. But there's a lot of people who do it wrong. And so the 1% give the 99% a bad name.
And I'm very for it as long as you're doing it safely and
correctly, following the rules.
For sure.
There's good ways to bump deer and push, or quote unquote push deer, and there's wrong ways to do it. You know, so
correct.
Okay, so let's address this question directly.
Okay.
As it is written.
From
Dana Pace. This is just a post in the Working Class Bowhunters group, which, by the way, I think people get stuff confused. I think they think when they see this on Facebook and getting shared that it's us posting it, where in this fact, normally not us. It's somebody in the group posting. Yep. And that's the one thing I realized. I'm like, God, I don't know if I like this group that much because sometimes someone will post something dumb and then they'll I'll get a message about it. I'm like, I didn't post that. It wasn't me. It's in our group, but I didn't post it.
Blame Judd.
We have 26,000. No. Judd's our president of the group. He's the manager of the group. 26,000 members in the group. So shout out to all you guys. It's fun.
It is fun.
All right. Would you shoot a buck if another hunter has already claimed it from a trail camera picture?
Yes.
Jacob?
Because you did.
Yeah. If it's on my side of the fence, it's my deer at that moment, and it's my deer. Once it's dead, that's when you claim permission, or not permission, possession.
Possession.
Yep.
Slap your tag on it, baby. Let's go.
That's right. I have some caviats to this or whatever. So
first of all, before you say yours, I'm shooting it. I'm shooting it.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I hunting a piece that's shared? Like, say I'm on this piece I have permission on, but the owner of the piece also hunts, and we're kind of working together. And he's like, "Hey, man, this is the deer I really want to kill this year, and I'm not shooting anything else besides this deer." And I go out and hunt it, and then he's sitting there at 25 yards. So I'm not shooting it.
That to me, I'm not shooting that deer.
Yeah, I'm not shooting
If you're hunting, a farm of another big hunter, where I killed Junk Brow, that guy hunts.
Yep.
He's not a big hunter. He just goes and shoots whatever, you know. So, you know, in that whole conversation that got brought up of, you know, hey, this is a really big deer. Do you care if I try to shoot it? I know, you know, it's here, blah, blah, blah. You know, if he'd have said, you know, I'd really like to shoot that deer, I'd have said, okay, respectfully, you know, that's fine. I mean, you own the farm, you know, and in
have
that
those
situation,
conversations before.
Yes.
Yep.
And then transparency is key. You know, if you know a guy's got a buck that he's like fallen in love with, or he's kind of like ate up about, hey man, if I'm hunting, what do you want me to do if I see that deer?
Yep.
Yes.
That's probably the best way to tackle that. Be like, you know, that's a tough one.
Yeah, if he looks at you and says, "This is a deer I really want to kill this year," and you say, "You know that," what happens if you stand at 15 yards? And he looks at you and says, "Crank him," then I'm cranking him.
Okay,
you know,
so-
but if he's like, you know, I'm holding out. Oh, sorry.
No, I cut you off. I was waiting for you.
Oh.
I'm going on. Dang it. Sting it. Oh,
Take him.
Ah, sorry.
you did this to me.
It's so professional until I come around.
I had a buddy who he had some permission farms in an area that I worked, but I didn't, you know, I would text him and be like, hey, I'm down here. It's close to dark. Do you care if I go sit one of your stands?
Yeah.
And he had a deer that he hunted for like 5 years. And he was like, I was like, hey, I won't, Curly is what he called him. He was like, I was like, I won't kill Curly if he comes out. And he straight up called me. We were texting and he called me. He said, I've been hunting that deer for 5 years and have never had a chance at him. If he comes by and I find out you did not shoot him, I'm going to be mad.
I'm mad.
Like,
Okay.
you kill that deer.
That's cool.
That's a good
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
See, where this buck is an 8-pointer, I asked Devin and Trey.
Yep.
Devin hunted there. And that deer was on that farm when Devin hunted there.
Yeah, he hunted that morning and the deer daylighted that night, didn't he? That Devin hunted
At
there?
like 11
Yeah.
a.m. So he left, and that deer an hour after was there. So I told him, I said, shoot him. I know, but I know if I put you out there,
There's a chance.
there's a chance.
Yep.
And if it walks by and you shoot it, I can't be like, hey,
That's my deer.
that's my buck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's just, you roll the dice with that stuff.
Yeah.
I get your point of it.
Yep.
It's a good point.
So-
I'd say if someone's in that situation, have those open conversations.
Yeah. So in that situation, I'm not shooting it. But if there's rumblings around town and people are talking like, oh, you know, of a big deer in a certain area that I'm hunting, and a lot of other people have permission
Are hunting in the area.
hunting the area, and that deer's in front of me. Oh yeah, dude.
I'm seeking permission to get next to you to kill that dude.
I am cranking them. You know,
Yeah.
I am gonna do it.
That's
and then I'm gonna
different,
be
yeah.
like, "What's up?"
Yeah, no, that's fun.
But it's one of those things that it's like that's almost in fun because it's like, yeah, I got them. You know, quote unquote local legend buck. Everyone has them in their areas probably. Where it's like you get a chance at something like that. Like, you gotta crank them.
I was the one
I'm
to
for sure
succeed.
doing it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
I was the one to succeed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got him.
You got 'em.
I got him.
You gotta come to my house to see.
So what's up?
What's up?
I'll send you pictures.
Fun conversation. I think that's a wrap on that before we just
Yeah.
beat this
it
dirt
up.
deeper in the dirt.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your buck and a great season.
Appreciate it.
Lee, you're still battling the 200-inch curse.
I am. It's been a rough season.
Well, by the time this airs, if you don't have a deer dead, I think your season's closed by the time this episode airs. We're looking at the 9th.
You're close as the 10th, but we're leaving for ATA on the 10th. So the 9th is my last day.
Okay, so maybe the luck of this podcast is with you. You'll just kill one way before then. You'll be relaxed.
Yep.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
It'll be good.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
No
thanks,
problem.
man.
Thanks for having
It
us.
was good.
Everyone, hopefully this was fun. We're trying to bring more, a touch longer episodes every now and again to the Deercast series. A little more open BS style platform, more WCB related. Not all of them this way. You know, we have more, I wouldn't say more of a job to do. We try to keep these cleaner, more focused on the Deercast side of things, especially being video. So anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting this series. You know what to do. Stay calculated. Go shoot a giant. We love you guys. Peace.